Okay, may I invite your attention again to the ggplot2 flights box plot and bar plot file that I shared with you. I think we started working on this last time. So may I once again request you to please call on these packages, NYC flights in particular, ggplot2 and dplyr. The others, guys, we're not, most probably we're not going to make use of today, but in the next sessions, we're going to heavily use this time gapminder because uh, for the past sessions, we have been using NYC flights 13. But in the next sessions, we're going to use another data set, which is gapminder. Okay, I hope you have loaded these packages. And then, okay, so far what we have studied are how to plot geopoints, then scatter plots, and then timelines. And then what was the third that we studied, guys? What was the third type of plot that we studied last time? Anyone? You can just chat there in the chat box. So meron na tayong scatter plots, meron tayong timelines. What was the third one that we discussed? Guys, ano yun? Okay, histogram. Thank you. Okay, may mga sumagot na pala. Sorry, hindi ko nakikita. Histogram, guys. That's correct. Anong kaibahan ng histogram sa sa scatter plot, for example? What's the difference between a histogram and a scatter plot? Pag scatter plot, guys, ilang variables ang kailangan? Okay, correct. Thank you. That's thank you. That's two numerical variables. Ganun din ang time ang line, no? Well, what's the difference between a scatter plot and a line? Yeah, timeline. Usually line, no? Ang timeline, guys, dalawang numerical variables din, pero one of them has to have sequencing. And usually, ang may sequencing na data is a time series. So, when you have a time series and you're plotting another variable with respect to the time series, it's best to make use of a line graph rather than a scatter plot. Okay? And then the histogram, guys, who said that we make use of one numerical variable. And what we plot there is usually the count, no? Inalagay natin sa X yung numerical variable. And then pupunta sa X yung count. Okay, so just to illustrate, quick, dun ba sa sa last time I forgot if we discussed it. You remember the Anscombe data that we discussed last time? Yes or no, guys? Yung 12 pairs of data. Tapos yung huli yung dino, di mo naalala nyo? Do you remember that, guys? Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. Now, I don't know if okay, let me quickly insert here, guys. Okay, let's do something about, just quickly do this. Okay, file. Okay, let me just share this file. Okay, this dino data. Okay, kindly save this save this dino data, guys, in your working directory or anywhere there. Sorry, medyo right? So let's just to illustrate, guys, the so mag-insert lang tayo dito. Insert R. Let's access that that data. How do you access data coming from your drive, guys? There are several ways to do it. One way is to import the data. I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if I have taught this to you. So under the environment pane, guys, there's this import data set there. So import data set. And it depends on what type of data you're trying to import. So it's not an Excel file. It's not an SPSS, either as data. It's a text because it's CSV. So from text, then a window will appear here asking us to identify what's the what's that data. It's Dino data. Okay, open. Okay, then it will give us this window. So the name of the data is Dino data, and heading, make sure it's yes, is clicked. Okay, because there are only two variables here, x and y. This is the 12th pair. If I if sometimes it defaults into a no. So if you click no, what happens? X and Y will form part of your data, which you don't want. And it will automatically give it a name, a default name, V1, variable 1, and variable 2. But that's not the case. You have a name to your X and Y axis, X and Y. Okay, separator is comma, okay, because it can be a semicolon, a tab, etc. All right, string as factors, we don't need that. Then import. And we have this data. Okay, let me pause a little while. So let me wait for you to to download. If you're done downloading, guys, kindly chat na lang yes kung okay na. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Now, I said, guys, that that's one way to download the data. Okay. Once we did that process, guys, you'll see in your console that there's a code here. Ito, no? This is the code. Dino data read.csv. So it's a read.csv, and then it identifies the file location in my computer. Okay. And notice these are forward slashes. Okay, so this is the code in order to read that data, which we did using the import data set functionality here. Okay, but you can, of course, you could have run it as a code here. Okay, and that's the code. Okay, so for example, you could have copied this, Control C, in your source code. Okay, Control V, so that you know, guys, what the code is for downloading that CSV file. Okay, in my computer, it's under C users, etc. So this is the file location. But I taught you before, guys, how to get the file location. And we'll look at another way to to access this to access another file later. Okay, so let's create. Okay, so we know that in order to create a plot in ggplot2, then we have data is equal to Dino data. Okay, you notice, guys, if the data is available already, data is equal to, it will appear here, okay, in the IntelliSense. So I'll just press tab. Okay, and then the complete name is mapping, but we know that we could have avoided this. We could have, it's okay not to write that. Aesthetics, guys. What is our x-axis? Our x is, for Dino data, our x is X, right? The name is X, and the Y is Y. Just the same. X is equal to X and Y is equal to Y. Okay. Or we could have just used X and Y, because we said that R knows that the first one will be X and the next one will be Y. Plus, okay, then geom. Now what will happen, guys, if we use geom line? So let's plot a geom line out of the dyno data. Okay, if you see, guys, this is the plot. So what R did was to connect the data points chronologically as they appeared in the in the data set. But that's not what we want. No? So you see here, we have here a ridiculous plot when we use geom-line for a data that does not have sequencing. What we want here is rather not the sequencing of your data. Let's insert another one here, and then let's just make use of this. Control C, Control V, and then let's make use of the scatter plot geom point. Okay, this one. So what do you get here, guys? Could you chat in the chat box, guys? What do you find in this plot where we use the geom point? And we said that that's the right, yeah, correct. It's a dinosaur that we plotted in Excel, right? Okay, so that's so this is just to illustrate, guys, that we don't use the geom line blindly. Okay, so there's a purpose for that, and the purpose is to see the sequencing of your data. So let me just run this. Okay, so that's what we plotted last time, right? Okay, so let's continue, guys. Box plots. This is the fourth type of data that we're going to look at. Of course, we're going to look at other plots. So again, by way of review, first we have the scatter plot, then we have the line, then we have the histogram, and now fourth we go to box plots. So remember, guys, in histogram, we were plotting the distribution of the numerical data, and we did a facet wrap in order to plot the different histograms of the different classifications. I hope you review that. No? In box plot, what we do is actually do the 5-number summary of a numerical variable, and we do a side by side. Okay, so let's make use of the weather data. Okay, so maybe you can run this, guys, if you haven't run the flights and the weather. Okay, so I already did this, so I won't run this again. Let me just run the weather. Okay, I'll give you time to run this, and then please chat there if you're ready already with the view with the weather and the flights data set. So do you have now the flights and the weather data set, guys? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Good. All right. So if we want to see the structure of weather, ito yung structure niya. Okay. So meron tayong mga character variables. We have seen this before. We have numerical variables, in particular the ones with decimals, and integers also. And then we have wait. Yung month nyo, guys, ano lumalabas? Integer ba yung lumalabas sa month nyo? can unmute yourself, guys, to answer. Integer siya lumalabas, ano? Yung month. I run the glimpse here. This will give us a structure. What appears there in the in the type of data format, guys? Paki-answer nga.
Integer po.
Yeah, thank you. It's integer, no? Kasi yan ang original. Kasi rinan ko na to kanina, guys. Nag-manipulate na ako dito kaya nabago na. Okay, so in your case, the month should be an integer. Okay, what will happen if we run this? Okay, so we're running here a box plot. Sabi natin yung box plot, ang ginagawa niya, 5 number summaries dun sa y-axis. So, si temperature, guys, numerical variable yan. So, we can make use of a 5 number summary dyan kasi mayroong first quartile yan, second quartile. Okay. Remember, guys, ang box plot, 5 number summaries yan. No? So, ang pwede lang magkaroon ng box plot are numerical variables. Okay. Si temperature, numerical yan. Okay. And what we usually do is to plot sa month, parang facet niya. So, gusto natin makita yung 5 numerical variables, 5 number summaries, each of the month. Kaso, when we run this, what happens? Iba sa inyo, guys. Sorry. Iba sa inyo kasi, okay, isa lang sa inyo, no? Isa lang. Sorry about this. Rinan ko na kasi kanina to. So, what will happen in your output is that iisa lang yung box plot nyo. Okay, bakit, guys? Kasi, box plots require a categorical variable to map to the x position. So, yung x nyo, guys, hindi siya categorical. It's an integer. So, what do we do? In order to come up with the correct box plot, where your y is a numerical and x is categorical, dapat i-convert natin si month. Kasi si month, 'di ba, sabi nyo, yung month sa inyo is integer. So we have to convert that. So dito, we create an object, yung weather data frame, particular yung month column, i-convert natin as that factor, weather month. Okay? So run natin to. So we now see that your month is factor. Okay, that's why when I showed you the output kanina, naka-factor na yung month ko kasi na-run ko na to. No? Okay, any questions, guys? Clear so far? Okay, good. Thank you. Now, so what we did was to convert si month into a factor. Anyway, hindi naman tayo magko-compute ng month 8 plus month 3, hindi gano'n. Ang gamit nito talaga, more on classifying. Kaya nga, yung months, in this case, it could be used as factors. Alright, so having converted your month into a factor, we can now run this. Okay, or we're also running a box plot again with the y as your numerical and x as your character or factor. Run this. Okay. Now we have a good box plot. Okay? Sabi natin si box plot, ginagamit natin yan para i-plot sa y-axis yung numerical variable. Okay? Using the 5ng. Sorry, 5 number summary. Okay. So let's take a look at this. What do the numbers here represent? 1 to 12. Ano siya? They're the okay, correct? They're the months, no? They're the months. Okay, ano tong first line na to, guys? If you recall, ano yung first line? Ano yung first line dito? That's your anyone? Dapat at this time, guys, dapat kabisado na natin yan, no? Ano to? What does this represent? This is your anyone, please? Yung bottom line na to? Yung sa box, yung bottom ng box, that's your
First quartile.
Yeah, that's your first quartile or 25th percentile. Okay. And then this one is your Q3, no?
Yes.
Q3. And then this one, this solid line here is your median. Correct. Thank you. And this distance is your, the upper minus the lower, this is your, this is your what, guys? This distance is your, correct. Thank you.
Interquartile range.
Yes, thank you. That's your interquartile range, no? Q3 minus Q1. This represents, what does this represent? This represents 50% of your data. Okay, the middle 50%. Andito yung middle 50% natin. Tapos ano tong bottom tip na to of your line? This is your whisker, di ba? Ano to, guys? This is your, okay, not necessarily the whisker, but yung point na to, yung dulong-dulo. Not the outlier, okay? Not necessarily the minimum. Pwedeng minimum, but not always. Ano to, guys? This is your, that's your quartile 1 minus 1.5 times IQR. Okay, itong distance na to, no? So quartile 1, sulat ko ha. So that's quartile 1 minus 1.5 times IQR. Okay, so that's the line here. Okay, and this line here, guys, is the quartile 3 plus. Okay, quartile 3 plus, tama. Thank you, Kale. Okay, quartile 3, itong tip na to, plus 1.5 IQR. Okay, so ano naman yung minimum? In this case, guys, the minimum is this one. But not always the case. Kunyari to, let's take a look at the month of May. Here. In the month of May, this is not the minimum. Huh? This is the minimum. The minimum is always the dot. Okay? The dot, the lowest dot. Kung wala, guys, it's the lowest tip. Okay? And what's the maximum? The maximum is always the highest tip. Yan. Yun yung mga maximum. And in this presentation, the dots are what we call the, anong tawag sa mga dots na yan, guys? They are the, the dots are the outliers, correct. Thank you. And that's correct. They are the outliers. So, pag mas mataas siya o mas mababa siya kaysa dun sa highest or lowest tip, outliers ang tawag sa kanya. No? Those dots. Okay, so this is bottom line. Okay, I discussed this, no? All right. So let's answer some questions. Okay, by the way, another way to do this, okay, is just straightly, ganito, no? ggplot, data is equal to weather, mapping is equal to a step, x is equal to, then convert mo na kagad sa factor. So hindi na natin kailangan tong code na to. This one. Pwede natin diretso dito sa x is equal to factor and then month. Okay, so some notes about this one. I'll just skim through this. So we said already, first quartile, second quartile, or the median in the third quartile. The height of each box is the IQR, that's quartile 3 minus quartile 1. Okay, yun, no? Okay, it measures the middle 50% of the values. Longer values indicating more variability. So if you take a look at this, guys, sino ba yung medyo mataas yung variability na? Mataas yung variance, mataas yung standard deviation. Visually, guys, parang November, ano? Ito. November yung pinakamalaki. So it's a measure of variability, it's a measure of variance, okay, it's a measure of standard deviation. So mukhang mas mataas yung ano yung sa November, okay, and then ang pinakamaliit saan guys? Anong month? What seems to be the month with the lowest variability? Visually guys, ano? Paki-chat guys. Sa tingin nyo, ano yung pinaka yeah. Correct, no? Tama, 8. Correct. Thank you for answering, guys. You're correct. 8 seems to be the month that has the lowest variability. Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering, guys. Now, ano yung pinaka medyo weird dito na data point, guys? What seems to be a very extraordinary outlier here? Anyone? Ano yung medyo extraordinary na outlier? Take a look at our plots. Take a look at our box plots. Ano yung medyo extraordinary dito? Anyone? October. Okay, maraming outliers October. Yes. That can be. Yeah. Eh, yung extraordinary guys, si May, tinan nyo. Tama, no? Si May. May bukod tanging outlier dito. No? Okay, and then let's investigate this later on. No? So medyo bukod tangi siyang ano, no? The other outliers are quite grouped. Medyo nakagroup sila. Pero itong outlier na to ng May, medyo tells us of a very low temperature, medyo malamig on the month of May. No? Let's see, let's continue to discuss. Okay, let me just point this out. The dots representing values falling outside the whiskers are called outliers. Nota bene, the definition of an outlier is somewhat arbitrary and not absolute. So you'll have other measures of outliers. This, by the way, is the method used by Tukey. No? Tukey method tong 5-number summary. Okay, where he represented those points that are outside the Q1 minus 1.5 IQR, yung below that, and Q3 plus 1.5 IQR above that, he classified them as outliers. All right. Okay, so let's see guys si May. Ito. So let's use weather, the weather data frame, and then i-filter natin. Kasi si May guys, siya lang yung di ba, yung temperature na below, okay, this is 25. Hanapin natin tong point na to. This is below 25, di ba? Tama, guys? Kasi si May, ang pinakamataas mukhang andi dito sa 40 plus. Eh. This is 25. Ibig sabihin, let's identify what is this point. So we can make use of the dplyr. So it's here, weather, and then filter amount equal to 5 and. So both conditions have to be met. Temperature is less than 25. Let's run this. Okay, ilan siya guys? Ilang data yan? Ilang data yung mag-isa lang na yan? Nasagot ko na pala. Mag-isa, di ba? How do I know guys? 1 by 15. So there's only one row and there are 15 variables because there are 15 variables as a weather. Okay, so let's look at this. The origin is JFK and the temperature is 13.1. So itong data point na to, this is 13.1 Fahrenheit. Okay, now, what's unusual about that? What is unusual about this data point? Can you point that out, guys? What's unusual about that? Anyone? Okay, it has something to do with the origin, guys. Yes? Related siya sa origin. Ayan, thank you. Ito may sumagot, no? Only one R and only at Jake. Okay. Kyle, I hope you don't mind me asking you, no? What's so curious about uh, only at JFK? So what's curious about this? Kale, would you like to venture a guess? Kung ano yung curious about that? Ano yung weird about that? Okay. Bakit kaya ano, possible na data entry? Kasi something to do with the origin, guys. Ilan ba yung origins natin? If you recall, guys, ilan yung origins natin sa New York City flights ito? There are three origins, di ba? You have JFK, you have Newark, and then you have LaGuardia. Tatlong airports natin sa New York. Now, it seems unlikely, guys, that okay, correct, no? Thank you, Kale. It seems unlikely na si JFK lang ang magre-register ng mababang temperature. Okay, unless nagkaroon ng freak of nature dyan na dun sa eksakto sa location lang ng JFK, dun lang bumaba yung temperature. While in the other near airports like LaGuardia and Newark, hindi bumaba yung temperature. So this is highly unlikely. So most probably, guys, naging wrong data entry lang to. Okay, so be be observant of these things. Okay, so anyway, itong data na to, check naman to. You can, syempre yung mga ano tawag nito, mga ano nila, yung atmospheric meteorological that could be checked. That's what I meant. No? Okay, we answered this, which has the highest variability, di ba, yung November, kasi by virtue of having the highest highest range ng IQR, no? Tapos si May si August yung least by virtue of having the lowest variability. Kasi variability is measured by your IQR, which is the middle 50%. Okay, so let's continue. Okay. Parang may kulang ako dito. But anyway, sige. So box plots, guys, provide a simple way to identify outliers. Okay, now there's a reason why outliers may be easier to identify with a box plot compared to a histogram. Kasi remember, guys, si histogram at saka si box plot, pareho silang pwedeng ang pinaplot sa kanila quantitative, no? Si histogram yung count, si box plot naman yung five number summaries. Now, ang question, a faceted histogram, bakit siya mas mahirap i-identify yung outliers kaysa kay box plot? Well, si faceted histogram is not really created for that, no? It's not really created to identify outliers, unlike the box plot. Also, si histogram kasi, it will also depend on the width of your bins. Okay, so that's the problem with with the okay, correct, no? Okay, thank you. Yun ang problema, guys, kasi sa depende sa bins yun. So if you really want to get the outliers, use the box plot kasi it's created for that. Yung two key method na to where we identify the IQR and then the whiskers, which is the Q1 minus 1.5 IQR and Q3 plus 1.5 IQR. Those form the whiskers, and then any point outside those will form part of the outliers. Okay, as I said guys, hindi lang isang way lang to identify outliers. There are different ways to identify outliers. Kunyari, standardized values. Magkakaroon din tayo ng outliers doon. Okay. All right, so let's now go to bar plots. Si bar plots guys, dalawang klase yan. We have what we call geom bars and geom columns. Si bar plots ginagamit pag categorical variable. Categorical variable guys. So, counting lang din to, no? Counting lang. Or it's also called the levels. Often the best way to visualize these different counts is with bar plots or bar charts. So pareho lang si bar plots at saka si bar charts. Okay, so let's have an example. So may notes lang ako dito guys, no? Ang geom bar ginagamit natin pag pre-counted yung categorical variable. Si geom column ginagamit siya kapag hindi pa nakakount yun, no? Okay, so let's go here. Okay, let's identify a variable dun sa weather natin. Sa weather ba yun? Okay. Okay, sa flights pala, no? Sa flights data set natin, di ba meron tayong meron tayong carrier ito. Yan. We have this carrier. So different types of carrier. Okay, it's a character variable and we can create the bar plot for this one. Okay, kunin muna natin yung structure at saka summary ng flights. So this is the structure. Sabi natin table siya or data frame. Si carrier, where is carrier? Carrier is here. Okay, carrier is there. Tapos syempre, alam naman natin na kapag carrier, count lang yan. 336,776 all in all. Okay. So let's now proceed. Let's create a bar plot. Okay. So data is from flights. Now take note, isa lang yung pinaplot natin, no? Si carrier lang. And let's use the geom bar. Bakit geom bar, guys? Let's run this. Okay. So you have now this categorical variable carrier. And on the y-axis is the count. So may mga counts yan. Okay. Of course, later on, guys, we can put here the the values of that data that can be done. Okay, I just want to point out here, guys, na what if we run geom column instead? Okay, hindi siya magra-run, guys, kasi ang geom column ginagamit natin kapag hindi pa pre-counted yung data. We'll have an example of that as we move on to more advanced ggplots. Okay, may ano lang ako dito guys, may may comments about pie charts. Although we're very familiar with pie charts, no? Pero the most literature will say that it's not a good way to present your data, especially kung maraming mini-measure. Yung pie kunyari, 10 yung mini-measure doon. That's not a good way. So ang sabi, humans are unable to judge angles well. Hindi tayo magaling sa sa mga angles. Mas magaling tayo sa heights, no? But not angles, especially with circles. We overestimate angles greater than 90 degrees. And we underestimate angles less than 90 degrees. This is from Robbins, no? Creating more effective graphs. So it's difficult for us to determine the relative size of one piece of the pie compared to another. So there are several examples of this in the internet. No? So i-google nyo na lang the problem with pie charts or why not use pie charts, and then marami examples. Okay, so let's continue our discussion on bar plots. Si bar plots, pwede din natin magamit para ma-visualize yung joint distribution of two categorical variables at the same time. Remember, bar plots, guys, are used to see the frequency count of categorical variables. Pero pwede din natin siya magamit para makita yung relationship ng dalawang categorical variables. For example, let's take a look at this example. You have X as a carrier, and you have here origin. Now take note, si origin, guys, character din yan. So we have carrier here, and the origin is, where's origin is here. So parehong categorical variables yan. Now pwede natin makita yung relationship nila, yung joint distribution nila. So let's plot this. Okay. So here you can see, ito yung count ni 9E carrier, and then makikita natin yung joint distribution niya with origin. So of the 9E guys, carriers, this amount came from LaGuardia, this amount came from JFK, this amount came from Newark. So we can see here, for each origin, saan siya madalas magpa-fly out. For example, B6, mas madalas siya nagpa-fly out sa JFK. And then halos pareho lang sa LaGuardia at saka sa Newark. On the other hand, si United Airlines, it flies more often from Newark, no? Diba? Newark. Pinakamakonti nga niya yung JFK. Pinakamalaki niya yung LaGuardia. Okay. For others naman, dito, si MQ, mas marami siya sa LaGuardia. Si YV, halos lahat LaGuardia lang. Pati si FL and F9. The others, halos lahat Newark lang. Ito naman, halos lahat JFK lang. Okay, so you see the joint distribution, guys, of the two categorical variables. Now, take note, we use fill, di ba? Naalala niyo yung fill? That's the function that we will use in order to see yung color ng inside the bar, no? Tapos pag color naman kasi, ang ginagamit diyan yung border lang. So let's run this. So ito yung color, guys, no? Binabago lang niya yung sa border. Andiyan pa rin joint distribution, but it's presented in such a way that yung color, which is supposed to plot the border, ang pinapakita niya yung color ng mga origins. Okay? So, yung fill in this case, mas maganda kasi mas distinct yung difference. But of course, it will be quite difficult, guys, to see yung heights nila, no? Ibalik ko to. Yung iba very apparent no? Just like this, kitang-kita na mas malaki si Newark. Okay. But in others, it might not be really that that obvious, no? Kung sino talaga, kung saan talaga siya mas madalas nagpa-fly out. Okay. And a few more things here. Okay, so we call this, by the way, a stack bar plot, no? The category on top of each other. Okay, I think this is just the same. Okay. Tapos meron tayong dodged bar plots nga pala where we position them side by side. No? Side by side. Pero for me, medyo mas magulo to, no? Kasi mas dumadami yung Tignan nyo. Okay. Especially kung marami tayong mga factors, marami tayong data. It's okay. Medyo nakaka-confuse din. Pero ano sense, relatively, kunyari sa 9E, kitang-kita natin dito na si JFK talaga yung marami niyang fly out, no? And then, since relatively nakikita natin siya, in a sense, this is better than your stock bar plot. But the only disadvantage here, from a personal perspective, is masyado ng, lalo na pag marami na guys, masyadong nakakalito. Okay? The advantage is that you can see the comparative count, no? among the different airlines here carrier with respect to the origin. So kunyari ito, Newark, si UA, talagang siya yung pinakamarami na nagpa-fly out sa Newark. Second C, this is EV, no? Kay JFK naman, ang pinaka marami si B6. Okay? Any questions so far, guys? So this is what we call the dodge, no? Okay. And yung kaiba niyan, G yung bar natin, no? Position is equal to dodge. Okay, tapos, did we run this already? To preserve single bar of those without flights from other airports, okay, nakalagay dito, position is equal to, position dodge, preserved is equal to single. Ano, ito ba yung rinan natin? Okay. Okay, what happened here, guys? May mga carriers na single lang siya, no? Iisa lang siya. Katulad nitong HA. All the flights are just coming from JFK. Si YB, all the flights are coming from LaGuardia. Okay. Also F9 and AS, Alaska. Lahat ng flights siya galing lang sa Newark. As distinguished from this one, okay. Sorry, anaran ko pala kanina yung isa, no? Dito guys, ginawa niya, since Alaska Airlines, wala siyang flight sa galing sa iba, linakayan niya yung bar, no? Inoccupy nitong bar na to, yung sa tatlo, yung sa LaGuardia, sa JFK, at saka sa EWR. Pinalakihan niya. Ganon din to si FL, si F9, si HA. Linakayan nila to compensate for those where they're not flying from, no? Yung wala silang origin. Pati ito dalawa lang. So some carriers fly from all airports. Yung iba isa lang. Isa, complete. Isa, complete. Ito dalawa lang, no? Dalawa lang, tsaka dalawa lang. Okay, so not all airlines fly in all airports, in all origins. Yung iba, kompleto. Yung iba, dalawa lang. Okay, yung iba, isa lang. Okay, sorry, naran ko dapat inuna ko to, no? Okay, and then, that's when you came here, na hindi niya ine-expand, no? Mini-maintain lang niya yung same size ng bar. So that's taken care of this J yung bar. Okay, position is equal to position underscore dodge. And then, i-preserve yung single as distinguished from this one. Position is equal to dodge. Okay, ito, may position underscore dodge and then preserve is equal to single. Okay, any questions, guys? And then lastly, ito namang faceted bar plot. Naalala itong faceted wrap natin. So what's this doing? Using data flights, mapping again, carrier to, no? plus geombar ang gagamitin, and then facet trap. Ipa-facet trap natin yung origin, tapos isang column lang. Let's see this. Okay. Right? So, iba yung facet trapping, ano? Yung facet trapping, since we're going to facet trap by origin, ang ipa-plot natin yung by origin, and then naka-common access yung mga carriers natin. Okay? All right. So, yeah, we have time to start the next one. Okay, so this ends, guys, our discussion on box plot and bar plots. Okay, to continue, let's have some practice. Okay, let's open the bike share RMD file that I shared with you. So have you opened this RMD file, guys? Paki-chat na lang, please, kung na-open na. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's load. May bagong ano dito package, guys, ano yung RGL. So paki-load na rin to. Install that packages. You can use the packages pane here, or just use, pwede nyo isulat na lang sa ano nyo, sa dito sa console, install that packages RGL. Okay, and then load it also. And then once you're able to do so, kindly chat kung yes na tayo, no? Kung ready na. If you have called the RGL package also. Pause ko lang sandali yung okay, so let's take a look at this. This is quite different from the other files that I shared with you kasi okay, starting now, guys, medyo yung mga files natin wala na masyadong mga codes, tapos kayo muna susubok and then i-discuss natin, no? So this will be the start where hindi na magiging katulad ng dati, guys, yung ano natin, yung RMD file. So para kayo na mismo yung, kasi dati binibigay sa inyo may code na eh. Ngayon, guys, you'll start trying to do it on your own, and then of course i-discuss natin. Okay, I'm going to share with you this. Paki-open nga to, itong URL na to. Kasi this is coming from yung UCI. Okay, can you see the screen, guys? Okay, so itong UCI, guys, University of California, Irvine, may machine learning repository sila. So maraming data sets to. In your next group work, you'll be required to do data visualization as a group. And pwede kayong kumuha ng data dito kasi I'll approve first kung ano yung data set na gagamitin nyo before you can proceed with your group work. Okay, so this one, bike sharing data set, it's good always to look at what this data set is all about. Okay, ito yung shinare ko na sa iyo, no? So you don't have to download this because this is what I shared with you. But just to understand what this is, okay, so ito yung metadata natin, ano yung description nito. We have the instant, we have the index, date, day, season, yung season 1, 2, 3, 4, winter, spring, summer, fall, year, you have 2011 and 2012. So dalawang years, 0, 2011, 1, 2012. Month is 1 to 12. R, tas holiday, okay, holiday or not daw. So 0 or 1. And day of the week, and etc. Sa dulo dito guys, this is CNT, count of total rental bikes, including both casual and registered. So meron tayong casual at saka registered na bilang ng pinarent na bike. So we'll use this. This is a numerical variable. Okay, so let's first import the bike share, import the CSV data. So let's create an object called bike share. Okay, so how do we collect data? Instead of just how do we import data set, we can use the read.csv guys. No? Read.csv. Now, without us directly getting the file address, ano pwede natin ilagay? We can use the file.choose. Okay, so this is from, okay, and then header is equal to true. Kasi may header yung file natin, no? So header is equal to true. Okay, so this is the code, guys. No? So we're creating an object called bike share, read.csv, file.choose. So if we run this, pag rinan natin to, what will happen? Okay, lalabas dito guys yung select file natin. Okay, so hanapin nyo kung saan nyo sinave yung data na yon. So it's here with me. Ito yung bike rental.csv. I'll click this, bike rental.csv. Okay, bike rental.csv then open. Okay, yun na. Andito na siya. Okay, so it's now here. Okay, pause muna ako. My questions, guys. So a while ago, di ba, we learned how to import dataset using this import dataset, di ba? Ito naman, then we said that, sorry, if we do this, okay, di ba lalabas yung lalabas yung code dito na the one that we wrote here a while ago. Ito, di ba? Then we copied it here para alam natin yung code. Dito naman, ang ginawa natin, okay, read.csv, then file.choose, header is equal to true. In-enter natin to, tapos may lalabas na box for us to choose kung ano yung file na yan. Okay, so ano nga guys, paki-chat nga kung okay na. Yes. Kung yes na import yun na yung data. Alright. Okay, sige, that's good. Okay, so tapos sabi, see the first column. So add natin, bike share. Oops. View natin, sige, view natin. View, bike share. Tapos pwede rin natin sabi head, first 6. So first 6, di ba? Head yan. And get the structure. Yung glimpse lang gamitin natin. Glimpse. Glimpse, bike share. Glimpse is coming from dplyr. Okay. Okay. All right. So, na-view na natin. Pag na-view natin, guys, So na siya, bike share, lalabas na siya dito, no? Okay, any questions so far? Nakita natin structure natin. So we have mga integers. ID lang naman to. Date, day. Okay, character siya. Season. Integer siya. Okay, take note guys, itong season, itong year, yung month, what's the best way to treat this? Integers ba dapat yung mga yan? Remember guys, kung yung mga variables are categories, it's best to make them as factors, no? That is si weekday, pwede rin gawing factor siya. Okay. All right. What do you notice about temperature, guys? This is in Fahrenheit. Ano na-notice nyo? Anyone? What did you notice about the temperature? Di ba naka-decimal siya? 0.34? Kasi ang ano ba freezing point ng ng ano guys? Ano freezing point ng Fahrenheit? Anyone? Yung temperature natin, normalized temperature in Celsius. In Celsius pala to, no? Normalized. So, Celsius pala siya. Okay. So, kaso, in decimal siya, no? So, we will need to convert this. I-convert natin to. So, Celsius siya, sorry. I said a while ago, Fahrenheit. Yeah, correct, no? 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the freezing point ng Fahrenheit. Okay. So let's do this, guys. Let's convert the temp column by multiplying by 100 kasi in decimal siya eh. So let's create this object bike share. Okay, paano yan, guys? Pag tinat ko yung bike share, lalabas dito yung ano, 'di ba? Yung temp, no? Temp. Let's create another column. Lagay natin temp underscore C, no? O temp C na lang. Okay, so how do we do this, guys? Lagyan natin dito by creating a column which is equal to temp C, temperature C. So how do we do this? At the bike share, okay, dollar yung temp natin, temp, tapos i-multiply natin ng 100, no? Okay, that's correct. Thank you, John Bell. Okay, that's correct, no? So we're creating an object dun sa data frame natin na bike share, a column temp C, tapos it's equal to bike share uh, na yung column na temp, and then i-multiply natin 100. So let's run this. Okay, so let's now check bike share. Head na lang natin, head. Okay, may temp C na tayo dito, no? Okay. We now have a temp C column and it's the temperature. Minultiply natin 100. Okay, any questions so far, guys? So ano lang to, gawin natin new column is equal to rental. So wag na lang rename, no? Create na lang. Yung gagawin natin, guys, we're going to create an object called hindi, sige. Okay. Let me backtrack, guys. Balik na lang, no? Kasi baka malito kayo dun sa ano eh. Okay, ganito na lang, sige. Let's rename count, yung column na count, to sales using pipe operator. So how do we do this? I-rename natin, guys, si count using pipe operator. So ibig sabihin yan, magba-bike share muna tayo, di ba? And then Control Shift M or Command Shift M. And then what are we going to do, guys? Sige, I'll give you 1 minute. Ang gagawin natin, let me clarify my instructions. So andito kasi, guys, yung rental, no? Rentals, yung count na to. We'll replace this with the name rentals. Rental. Palitan natin to ng pangalan ng rental using the dplyr. Ito, using this. Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds, guys. I'll give you 1 minute. Okay? So, any volunteer, guys, kung anong pwede natin gawin dito? ang gagawin natin, papalitan natin yung pangalan ni ni count ng sales. So what do we do, guys? Sige. Let's maintain the name. Okay. So we're creating an object called bike share. Okay. Tapos, nagsisimula din tayo kay bike share. And then, what do we do? And then, so what function can we use in order to rename yung count? Rename, guys. So, pwede natin gamitin si rename. Rename. So, ano i-rename natin? Gagamitin natin ang pangalan ng sales from count. And then let's see what happens. Head. Okay, let's take a look at our code. So we're creating an object called bike share. May bike share na tayo, no? Pero with this change, mababago na yung pangalan ng ano natin, may mababago sa ano natin sa bike share. So we're saying, start with bike share, and then rename, gawin mong sales yung count. Okay? And then let's see the head of bike share. Let's run this. Okay, so what happened to our count, guys? Napalitan na ng sales, no? Naging sales na siya. Of course, there's another way to do that, guys. Yung iba-bracket natin, but this is a lot easier. No? Better yung pipe operator natin. So let me repeat, guys, kung anong ginawa natin. Si bike share, okay? We're creating this object bike share. Tapos from the bike share, the original bike share, and then i-rename natin, sales na yung pangalan ni count, and then we looked at the first 6 observations. Indeed, guys, si sales andito na. Everything was preserved except for sales pangalan na. Okay, then use a plot function. Now in base R, guys, in base R, meron tayong plot function. So, check muna natin. Okay, so we have here yung plot, nasa graphic siya, nasa base siya. Dito tayo sa base. Okay. So take a look at this, guys. Ito yung default ng plot, no? Sa base function. So ito yung command niya. So you have your x variable, you have your y variable, tapos you have several adjustments here. Yung type, pwedeng points, lines, both, histogram, h, etc. So maraming magagawa din, guys, yung plots function ni base R. So my main, my sub, my x lab, y lab, okay, aspect ratio meron pa. Okay. So here you have some examples for you to follow. It's always good, guys, to study a particular function. So sige, gawin natin to, guys, dito. Plot. So ano daw yung x. I-plot natin si sales at saka si temperature. Di ba may sales na tayo dun sa bike share natin at saka si temperature. Okay, gawin natin si temperature. That will act as our independent variable. Lagay natin siya sa x. Tapos si sales natin sa y. So how do we start with this? X natin is equal to, what will be x, guys? Paki-chat, guys. What will be our x-axis? So we're using the plot function here, guys, hindi ggplot. Gusto ko lang ipakita dito na may plot function kasi you can also use this. Pag simple lang naman yung mga pina-plot nyo, you can use this. But of course, ggplot is more powerful, more flexible, more robust than the plot function. Anyone guys? Ano yung x natin ulit? Dito, sabi natin ang x natin, let that be our dependent variable natin, temp. Y natin is equal to sales. Will this run, guys? Will this run? Magra-run ba yan? Hello guys, magra-run ba yan? It didn't run. Bakit? Bakit guys? Kasi hindi na-recognize si temp at saka si sales. Ano yan? Wala naman tayong temp at saka sales dito sa objects natin, di ba? Okay. So how do we address this para ma-run to? Any suggestion?
Yung bike share dollar.
Yes, correct. Tama. No, dapat isama na natin dito yung bike share and then dollar. Yung mara-recognize to. Kasi ang nara-recognize si bike share. Okay. Now, as an aside guys, what if you want na hindi na natin isusulat tong bike share na to? Anong gagawin natin? So, ibig sabihin, pag gagamitin natin yung mga variables ni bike share, laging may bike share then dollar, yes. But if you don't want to do that, pwede nyo i-require, no? Require si bike share. Pwede yan. Kaso nga lang, ang disadvantage nito guys, while you're working guys, ang mara-recognize pa lang niya lagi si bike share. Unless i-define mo yung ibang objects, no? Okay, so you can do this kung bike share lang talagang gagamitin nyo throughout, no? But if not, guys, ganito nyo na lang. Okay? Lagay ko lang ito. Okay? Pero ako personally, I don't do that, no? But the advantage, guys, if you do this, tapos, pwede mo nang tanggalin yung bike share dito kasi mara-recognize niya yan. Okay, so let's plot this. Almost time na pala. Plot natin. Okay, so take note of that, guys. See? Yan. Yan ang plot natin. Bike temperature and bike share. X and Y. Now, take note, order is of importance, guys. Pag na-interchange yan, pag na-interchange, then, mababago yung mga axis natin. Control C, Control V. Okay, tanggalin natin. Pwede kasi natin, guys, tanggalin yung X at saka Y. Ha? Parang alam ni R na X, Control V. Alam ni R na yung una is your x-axis. Okay, so let me end in this, guys. Run natin to. Yan. So nabago na guys yung ano, no? Temperature na yung nasa y-axis natin, sales na yung nasa x-axis natin. Okay, so let's stop here, guys. It's already time. Now, I'm going to post other files, guys, other RMD. If you want to practice on it for during this week, kung nasa bahay lang naman kayo, guys, then I strongly encourage you to practice on the file that I'm going to share with you also. Ito din guys, subukan nyo, no? Subukan yung gawin to. Okay, this is a ggplot also. So practice doing this. Okay, so are there any questions, guys? Okay, thank you guys. Thank you so much. And please keep safe during this Holy Week. Ingat tayo guys kasi grabe yung ano. Keep safe ha. Yung papacheck ng attendance.
Meron po, sir.
Okay.
Meron po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a blessed Holy Week,
Keep
guys.
safe po.
Kayo din ha, guys ha. Ingat kayo ha.
Sir, paano po yung sa attendance po?
Sandali ha. Sinong papa-attendance?
Masangke po, sir.
Okay.
Nakaryo din po.
Sande po, sir.
Sino?
San po.
Masangke, Jean, Joanna. Okay, who
Yes,
else?
sir. Thank you po.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you po.
Alexandria.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Sige, thank you.